Jesus H. Christ. When I was a boy, every little squirt wanted to be a harpooner or a sword fisherman. What do you got here? Portable shower or a monkey cage?
Anti-shark cage.
Anti-shark cage. You go inside the cage. Cage goes in the water. You go in the water. Shark's in the water. Our shark. Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain. For we've received orders for to sail back to Boston. And so never more shall we see you again.
You're the LeaguePodcast, the director's series, Steven Spielberg, Jaws. I'm Matt Durson.
I'm Senor Spielbergo John Hunt.
Play Only Go Swimming with Bow-Legged Women, Inferno.
That is a good one. That's a good one. I wish I could say I was drinking a Narragansett now, but I'm actually not. I don't have Narragansett, but it'd be great. They actually do sell the Crush It Like Quint can now. So even all these years later.
Coffee cup.
I know if I had that. Anyways, it's the end of summer, but we're still doing a summer movie because every year the Coolidge here in North Dakota plays Jaws on Labor Day weekend, and every year Rachel and I go see it. Oh, we missed a couple years with COVID and whatever, but we went this year, and that was kind of what gave me.
Backyard. I
know we did one in my backyard. That's true. We didn't even have to go all the way to Brookline, North Dakota. But yeah, we saw it. We were like, let's go. This is our 12th, I think, like our 12th time or maybe 10th. It was like 10th because we missed 2. As I was watching it, I was like, yeah, you know what? Let's do Jaws for the next podcast. And here we are.
And
doing Jaws.
You didn't want to do it on its 45th anniversary a couple of years ago.
You're like, yeah.
No, you're like, everybody's doing that.
Oh, I suppose. Well, here we are on the 49th or whatever it is. Oh, dear. I know. I'm sorry. I think part of it was, every year they do the screening, and every year the guy comes out and he's like, who hasn't seen Jaws? And a bunch of people raise their hands. It seems like more and more, like every year. Because I guess, there's a new wave of people. I don't know. And the movie is almost 50 years old now. So it's interesting.
I've not seen it nearly as many times as you guys have. It kind of was also a movie that I had seen, but not really paid that much attention to because I always wanted to be in space. It was always on cable, and I watched it. I never really paid that much attention to it. I've probably seen it. I've seen it less than 10 times, including the time at your house.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, I can't even count how many times I've probably seen this movie like 100 times. That's great. It's cool though. Like when people, we'll get there, but like there's always that jump scare and people still go like, ah!
Oh, I watched this. There's a great reaction video. There's a YouTube channel called Movies with Marty, and he did this movie. And that scene with Ben Gardner's head coming out of the bottom of the boat, Mrs. Elder and I are always quoting it when something goes wrong because the kid is trying to not swear to get demonetized. So he's like, fuck.
It does freak everybody out. As a kid, it freaked me out too. But now I'm waiting. I know that it's going to come, so it's not as scary. But it's fun in a theater full of people when there are people who haven't seen it. And when it happens, they all freak out. And I'll tell you the other funny thing, speaking of the Narragansett can, and this wasn't, I don't remember this happening before, but it's possible it happened before, but like the beer, the theater sells beer, and they're actually selling I think they must have bought a case of Narragansett for this occasion. And so every time when Quint crushes his can, everybody in the theater did it. It was really fun. I had a can of beer and I didn't even think to do it, but it wasn't Narragansett. It was like a different beer. But it's fun to watch if you get a chance. I'll just say right now, to watch it in a theater, do that, or outside, which we've also done.
I have only seen it outside of like home video at the drive-in theater. No.
Oh yeah, drive-in.
I saw Jaws 2 when it originally came out at a drive-in.
Wow.
Yeah, so there you go.
What was that? 1980 or when was that?
78. I was really
Whoa.
you know what happened is like it got paired with another movie called Roller Coaster. So of course that movie got played first, and then Jaws 2, something happened in the film. So we only got to see some of it. Not that I would remember at that age because I was really small and I'm sure I fell asleep, but
It's not
a crappy story.
It's not as good.
No, it's
That's
not.
a great story. Well, also, yeah, you should go back and listen to our Jaws the Revenge podcast from last Christmas when because they show a lot of this movie in that one.
They made up for the runtime by just incorporating half of this movie into it.
Half. But this is the one that started it all, as we like to say. Not only in the Jaws realm, but this is considered like the first summer blockbuster. And correct me if I'm wrong, was this the first movie to gross over 100 million?
I believe so.
I think yes. I believe that is correct. But if anyone has something to debunk me, please leave it in the comments. But I'm pretty sure I heard that many years ago. First movie to gross 100 million at the box office, not like adjusted for inflation years later and all that other stuff. But
verified.
Oh, thank you. It has gross. Funny thing was, it went way over budget, and went way past its shooting schedule. But so over budget back then meant like, it was we had 5 million allocated it and it cost 9 million. It's brought in $476 million. So they made it back.
Yeah, well, Universal had other priorities at the time. They were doing a couple other disaster movies and thought this one was kind of like this thing that's going on. It's just a schlocky kind of horror movie, whatever. And they kept going over budget and be like, well, our effects teams are dedicated to like working on these other films. Like, well, what you doing over there? What you doing?
And also, Robert Shaw had another gig lined up that he had to I think he just canceled. He just said, never mind, I'm going to finish this one. Obviously, he plays Quint. Yeah, like it was a mess. I mean, we were just talking about this off air, but there are books written about the production of this movie. Yeah, I don't know how much we even want to get into it. There's so much crap like behind the scenes. Obviously, it was filmed like, first of all, Peter Benchley wrote this book. Universal was all over it, like before it even was published. They were like, we want to make this into a movie. And they had promised him a draft. So Peter Benchley wrote like 3 drafts of the script, and then he handed it to Spielberg. I was like, I got nothing. This is all I got. Like, I can't write anymore. Have you read
the book before?
No, actually, I never have.
I've read it twice. Once when I was a kid, and then once as an adult. And I'm going to say the movie is better. This is one of those cases where they just kind of strip it down to like, here's what the story needs to be. In the book, Hooper and Ellen Brody have an affair because she used to date his brother, and that was because she was from like Long Island, and it was like hoity-toity families, and the mayor has got something to do with the mob, and it was just a lot of extra stuff that they wisely removed from the film.
Yeah, I watched like a YouTube thing about some of the differences between the movie and the book, and yeah, Spielberg basically, he wanted to do it. First of all, they were like, yeah, I don't know, you've never really done anything. He had just done Duel, which is sort of like Jaws with a truck, I guess.
Yeah, and it was like a movie of the week, ABC movie of the week, I think.
And they were like, I don't know. He's like, no, I can do it. And so they're like, all right, whatever. And then But he wanted to, strip it down, all like the sort of whatever, like stuff. He wanted 3 guys on the boat. That's like the crux of it, though. That's like what I want. That's what he did. And yeah, many people took stabs at it. And in the end, like they were writing it, like they would literally write pages of the script and then go and shoot them the next day. Like
Yeah, when the shark was not working, they were always getting together for script meetings. The actors and Spielberg and Carl Gottlieb, the writer, and things like that.
Yeah.
And that's why all the characters seem like they're completely natural in this film. Everyone acts like a person, which is just phenomenal for Spielberg, who was 26 or something at the time that he's doing this.
Yeah.
Like you could have swore it was someone like in their late 40s or 50s just put this together because it's just so well done, and it seems like an experienced person who put this together. But he was just a kid.
I know. And
also, a fair amount of improv was allowed, so they were improvising some lines and stuff, but they kept owing to the naturalistic feel of the people, like you don't want to get drunk and fool around, stuff like that. And yes, indeed.
I'm apparently also like he didn't want to cast, like they wanted to put like Charlton Heston and whatever in like the Brody role, I think, right? Was it Brody or was it Quint? I don't remember.
I think he wanted Lee Marvin for Quint.
Right. Okay. Yeah. But like he was like, no, I don't want people. I need sort of people that the audience will identify with, like royScheider, and I definitely identify. He reminds me of my dad. Like how could I mean? I know it's just me, but like he really reminds me of my dad.
I always thought so too. Like in appearance, anyway.
Right. But just the way he acts about like things like that. Whatever. There's that guy who's like, oh, they're karateing my face. He's like, just fill out the form. Yeah, just fill it out. Like, that's all I feel like my dad would just be like, just get out of here. But like, he didn't want like this big tough hero guy as the chief. He wanted like, this everyman. And I guess they didn't cast Richard Dreyfuss until like 9 days before they started shooting. But
he kept turning it down.
Yeah.
Like, I'll do it. No, I don't want to do it. Yeah, I'll do it. No. All right.
Well, I guess he had also just done a kind of shitty movie. I was like, oh, I should probably do this.
He thought it was a shitty movie. I think it actually.
Right.
He may have gotten an Academy Award for it. I can't. It's like the.
Oh no shit.
I might be wrong. Again.
No, I think I. Yeah.
Okay. But he thought he was terrible in it, so he's like, I gotta go get another job.
Yeah, I gotta redeem myself because no one's gonna hire me for anything.
Yeah. Especially 50 years in the future when I keep going to screenings and saying weird shit.
I wear this dress.
Just where I go on club random and fall out of my chair. But also, there's great stuff on YouTube, and a great resource for people that love the movie is The Shark is Still Working documentary, 2007. It has a lot of great stuff in there. And then I watched, I think, whatever's on the iTunes, whatever extras. There's another making of movie that's like a full length movie. I watched that. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, we should talk, I guess, about the shark Bruce. Or there were 3 apparently, 3 Bruces.
Yeah, they've got the full shark and your left to right shark and your right to left shark with its like all its pneumatics, tubes, and all that other shit.
What is this, a Katy Perry concert? We got left shark over here.
Hey.
But none of them worked at various points in the movie. And so that's why we don't see much of the shark. And I'll be honest, when we do, I love this movie, but when we do see the shark, it doesn't always look great. It's better than Jaws the Revenge.
Yeah, there are some shots where it's very effective, like the one where you boys all right over there. That shot's great. And the one where it pops out where it's like, chum some of this shit. Then there's other parts where it's like he's chewing through the rope and it's just like a chewing over here. It's just so bad looking. It's like a fat lumpy shark out there with weird looking teeth.
What do you guys think of the shark though? Like since you've all seen it 100 times, like when you were younger, were you as critical of the shark? Or like when did you first notice that didn't look good in certain shots, or
I
like did
noticed
it
it
stick
from
with you for a while?
right at the beginning. I noticed that the shark looked kind of wonky in some shots, but looked awesome in other ones. So, I was 10 when I first saw it. So I was just like, I'll go with it. I was just happy to watch a movie with a shark in it. And I thought that was the best thing ever.
And there are a couple of shots where it's a real footage. Like when Hooper is in the cage, did they use like real cage shark footage at any point? I feel like they're.
Yeah.
They
I
did.
remember
I have
that,
a
yeah.
little bit of knowledge drop on this.
All right.
Watching these documentaries. The Bruce the Shark is supposed to be 30 feet long. And
Oh, well.
Spielberg was his unit 2 was this couple of oceanographers.
Valerie Taylor, Ron and Valerie Taylor. That's who.
Yes. And they were shooting real shark footage. And in order to, this actually is a pretty crazy story. So in order for the scale, kind of like Hobbit kind of thing, they got a little person to go in the cage so that when they shot from behind, the shark would look 30 feet long. This person that they put in the thing, the shark actually started to hit the cage, and he had a heart attack in the cage. He lived. He survived, but he had a heart attack. But they got a lot of that footage with the actual real sharks down there. And I suppose they were in cages too. They're not just swimming around with this fucking shark, But yeah, that's what happened. And thank God the guy was all right.
Yeah,
but they kind of did and I was watching this. Oh, this is only tangential because it's kind of related. But when I was watching all the alien movies, when they land on the planet and they're like walking around these big like H.R. Giger landscapes that are like inside this weird alien cave, it's actually little kids in the spacesuits.
Wow.
But it's shot so that
yeah, I've heard that too. Yeah.
So it's like shot. It's like, oh, there's the crew all walking around in this thing, but actually no, it's little kids, and they did build this huge set, but still like to make it scale.
They did the same trick in the Star Trek movies in the engine room. Is that they would like when you'd see Scotty up there, these controls, and you know how the engine would go like kind of this like far away perspective kind of thing. There were there were kids in spacesuits just to give it, to make it look like they were in scale, and like they were tiny and they were way back there, but really they were like 3 feet behind Scotty.
And then in Return of the Jedi, they had all these Ewoks. That's good. That's good knowledge, though. That I did not know. A little person in the cage. Anyway, yeah. So
I had a heart attack, which sucks. I wouldn't want to be that close to a shark. I'm not like super afraid to go in the water or whatever, but in a shark cage, yeah, I would not want to be there. I'd have a heart attack.
Most of the time, great white sharks just kind of leave you alone. But I suppose if you're in the cage throwing chum and stuff about, yeah, I'd be a little nervous too. I've actually done the thing where it's like you go in the water and someone yells barracuda and people say, huh? What? I have been in the water with a barracuda before. And yeah. Thank you.
Let's bring that, since you mentioned it, Clay. In 1975, when this movie came out, people were legit scared to go in the water. After, like, they were scared. That was like the tagline. And yeah, it fucking worked. Like, people were legit afraid, even though, yeah, like sharks would most of the time wouldn't do this kind of stuff,
Actually, he regretted the whole like writing the book because it turned a bunch of people into shark hunters kind of thing, and he's like, that's my biggest regret is that I did that. And then he spent the rest of his life trying to, rehab the shark's reputation.
Yeah. And I did hear also that the inspiration for the book was a rash of shark attacks on Beach Town in like 1916. It was like a long time ago, but it was something that really happened.
And there was also a legit guy, like he based Quint on a guy that caught a shark, and he was kind of like a famous. It was like a big deal. This guy caught a shark, and he's like, what if I wrote, about this guy? Like that was kind of part of the inspiration too. But yeah, it was basically this horror thing that became this whole other, like, just a horror movie, but it became this
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys, would you
phenomenon.
consider it, as big fans, would you consider this a horror movie or an adventure movie or just a great Spielberg movie? I mean, I guess it's a mix of all three. But when I was watching it this time, I kind of thought of it as a horror movie. Before then, I just thought of it as more of like, I don't know, hero's
I think
adventure.
it is an adventure movie with some horror elements to it.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I think it's got a lot of, it's just this. I think that's what makes it so great, right? There's so much going on. It's got this man, like Brody is like this man versus
Human
nature kind of thing. Yeah, like if you take all those Campbell elements, right? Like Joseph Campbell had all these. What makes a good story? It's got a lot of those things. So I don't know what to say. I mean, it's just one of those movies that kind of transcends genres and just it's Jaws. Like, I don't know. What do you say?
My kind of like separate from the story, my like Kubrick fandom, there's really nothing beats. It's really, really special. It's kind of a cliche to say, but Spielberg really is a master storyteller, and him and John Williams, there's just nothing that compares to it. It's every shot is like perfect. Everything flows so well. The editing, like everything is so great in this movie. It's just perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it's done really well, considering especially all the issues they had in the production. So, yeah, we should also, I don't know if you want to point out, it's filmed off at Martha's Vineyard and in and around Martha's Vineyard, which is the stand-in. I mean, Amity Island's a stand-in for Martha's Vineyard, and there are still things. Quinn's house apparently is still barely standing in Martha's Vineyard. It is kind of like a tourist trap. There's a restaurant owned by the kid, now adult, who played Alex Kittner and all that. So, I mean, it's, as our friend Red Shirt Brian went there. I personally have not spent a lot of time in Martha's Vineyard, but
not either.
Yeah, so it's apparently it's
and
there are Jaws
my
things.
Friend Barack and Michelle, they had me for dinner, took the ferry over, and then I'm back before midnight.
Oh, that's good. Our friend LD, Larry David, apparently has a house in Martha's Vineyard. Him and Barack golf frequently, apparently. If you're ever in the vineyard, go down and see Quinn's house. But they wanted it to be like, they were originally going to film it in like Long Island or kind of up there, when they were like, we want it kind of a little more working class kind of town, kind of an island area. So that like the whole tourist subplot where they're like, we need the summer dollars, like the mayor says. So like they thought it would be better in Martha's Vineyard. So there we go.
Do you remember when there was a great white shark trapped in the like a bay in Woods Hole, and it was like a huge tourist attraction? I sort of feel like this movie gets it wrong, that if there was a shark there, more people would go.
Well, I mean, that's the interesting thing is when they offer the reward money, then people come. But I don't know. Yeah, you're probably right. Now, but before this movie, that there wasn't a thing, I don't think. But you're right. No. Now, I mean, I was just down the Cape this summer, and I was praying because there had been a lot of shark sightings down there, and I was like,
yeah,
you'll see a shark.
Yeah,
nothing.
There was a beach that was close by to when I briefly lived in Massachusetts and lived on Cape Cod. There was a beach close to us that is now Great White Shark Central because there's just a very large population of seals.
Right, that's the thing, seals, because that's what they eat. They don't eat people.
If they do, they usually spit them out because people are too bony.
A bite and go.
Yeah,
gross. But now they even have those like you can take like a ship. It's like a tour. Like, oh, I want to go on one of those shark things. You can go and watch them. This place is off. I don't know where. It's like some off Nova Scotia or something like that, where there's a lot of seals, and you can take. It's like a attraction. It's like, I'm gonna pay this guy to take me out and look at some shark.
Like watch a man.
Like a whale watch. Yeah, right.
Or Vine.
It's crazy. All right. Anyways, let's get in. We got to get into the plot. You can drop your knowledge as we go. We'll handle this like we do every movie,
because it starts off poorly. Oh, sorry.
Poorly. It starts off with a nice little beach
Oh, we
little
should
beach-
also, mention that Chrissy has just passed away as of this recording this past summer. The woman that
Oh
played.
no, that's sad. She was a stunt woman turned actress. Susan Blacklinney.
Sure. That's
She
why
was
I
a
just stuck
stunt woman.
Chrissy Walken.
Chrissy Watkins. But she was also, she could swim and she was willing to do it nude. So
Well, la-di-da.
you got the job, Chrissy.
You're hired.
Right. I mean, she didn't have any, she had one line or two, whatever. But anyways, yeah, so a bunch of teens hanging out on the beach, they're drinking, smoking, doing all kinds of things. I kind of feel like I missed out on this part of society or whatever. Yeah, I never had like a big drinking on the beach soiree kind of thing. But anyway,
I always wanted to have a big bonfire. Everyone
Yeah.
hanging out and making out is what we used to call it. When I would see it in movies and be like, how come I'm not there?
yeah, exactly. So anyway, Chrissy is talking to this dude. She gets up, starts running. The guy's like, ah! And she's, starting to strip down to her
Skivvies.
nitty gritty.
Oh, nitty.
I love the guy when he sees her take off her shirt. He's like, I'm definitely coming. I just came. Oh no. But, yeah. So she's sorry. What?
No, that's that's the only line I know from Splash is bocce balls when she walks up naked.
Eugene Levy. And Mr. Mango on my shoulder. That's the other one I know.
I don't know any lines. I wish I knew one line so I could join your revelry. But anyway, Chrissy strips down to nothing and she jumps in the water. And this guy falls on his ass and he can't, perfect opportunity. He missed it. Anyways, yeah, so she's out there swimming and we get the underneath and the classic John Williams, like, dun, 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 dun. And she's just floating out there. I like she even does a little water ballet. I don't know if that was in the script, but that was pretty good.
Yes.
But anyways,
quick
we do
knowledge
not-
drop about the John Williams. When he first was like, it's just these two notes. They're like, are you fucking kidding me? Is this kind of a joke? Is this kind of a joke?
am I a
But
clown?
It worked out perfectly and is iconic just as much as the rest of the movie. But
Absolutely.
Totally.
Without the score, I don't know if the movie is as popular, right? I mean, who knows?
Well, that's Spielberg credited half of the success of the movie to Williams' score. And I bought
The rest is mine.
Yeah, I bought the score on record before I had ever seen the movie. So I had the score for like a year or two before I had ever seen the movie.
Wow.
So
You also
in my-
gave me a copy of the
Look at I
record.
just give you Jaws all over the place, huh?
Well, I mean, this was many, many years ago, but I still have it.
Excellent.
And yeah, and I have a record player.
Ah,
Anyways, Chrissy's swimming around, and then all of a sudden it's like, and she does a good job of being scared. She really sells it. Like I don't know how.
well, she's getting pulled underwater by a bunch of guys with ropes or something, and
Yeah,
that might be only half acting.
yeah, that's true. She might really be like, "Hey, what are you doing?" But she's screaming and yelling, and the poor guy on the beach is like, "I'm coming," But she's screaming and oh my god, and she is pulled down, dead, and dead.
We'll have to show Clay that clip so he knows what we're talking about.
Yeah, every time we
do
say
it.
we're dead, we say it like 5 times. Anyway, so next morning we meet Chief Brody. He wakes up in his house. He looks out the window. This is it's like a 1 or 2 minute scene with him talking to his wife, Lorraine Gary, and he does the fake Boston accents. So we know, and he says, how's that? And she's like, oh, like you're from New York. So we know he's from New York. She says, oh, where are the kids? And so we know they have kids and dogs. That matters.
And
And then they know it's like a new house because she says, we bought the house in the fall. This is the summer. So they've only been there, however many, 6 months at the most.
sure.
We learned so much in that
Yeah.
one scene. Anyways, he gets a call. He's got to go out. And we don't know what it is, but basically he drives out to see Chrissy's body with the drunk guy who came in his pants. presumably. So we meet Hendrix, who was also in Jaws 2 and Clue, one of my other favorite movies.
Yeah.
Now, I could be wrong on this. I think I read, was he just a resident of Martha's Vineyard that they cast?
I haven't heard that. There was
Okay.
a guy that was a Martha's Vineyard resident that became like a special effects guy because he got like a job
wow.
with them.
They were contractually obligated, not that it's a bad thing necessarily either, but they had to cast a certain number of townspeople in the movie if they were going to be allowed to film there. I don't know if Hendrix is one of them. That could be a mistake. I never heard that before today. So I'm like, I don't know if I believe that. But anyways, Hendrix, he's like blowing the whistle so they know like this is where to go. And then I love he like kind of like kneels down. He's very distraught. He kind of just like plays in the sand a little. Like it's like a nice little subtle thing. Like he's really grossed out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we see just like this hand that's covered in like crabs and bugs and shit. And it's Chrissy's hand.
Those crabs had a tarantula effect on me.
They
And
do.
I like seeing all of
Oh.
them crawling around.
I'm sorry. Yes. I mean, it's great though. I mean, it's established that like they don't see this on Amity Island. You know, like you don't get dead people.
Yeah, because in Amity, one man can make a difference.
That's what he says.
Yeah. And somebody has crabs.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. Anyways, it's funny they go back and the kid is there and he's drinking like a
Alka-Seltzer or something?
Alka-Seltzer. Thank you, man. Couldn't think of it. They're really grossed out. And Chief, he's filling out a part. He gets on the phone and like he types under typing. Like this is so much cooler in the 70s, right? Because he has to type the word shark attack.
Oh, yeah. You get a nice close up of the key striking the paper and yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Only rivaled by the Shining typing scene.
Yeah, it is rivaled there. They're rivals. Excuse me. He has to go. He goes to the store. It's really funny. You get like the real town. You see like parts of the town and everything like that. And he wants to make these beach closed signs. It's funny. He talks to Hendrix again. He's like, "Where do we keep the beach closed signs?" He's like, "We don't have any. They've never closed the beaches. This shit doesn't happen." Yeah, he's like, take these. Yeah, he gives them like paint and wood and whatever. He's like, "Make beach closed signs. Have Polly do the printing." What's the matter with my printing?
Have Polly do the printing.
It is funny. I mean, like, Spielberg wanted to put some humor in it. He didn't want it to be all just like, oh, scary, whatever. So there's a lot of that. Anyway, so they're like, oh, there's some swimmers. There's some Boy Scouts out there doing some swimming to get their badges or whatever. So Chief Brody wants to go out and corral them in. As he gets on the ferry.
And I would like to point out the guy piloting the ferry is the actual guy that did the ferry. So
Wow.
There's a little knowledge drop.
That's good. But another car drives on and we meet Mayor Larry Vaughn, Murray Hamilton, who plays, he's kind of a scumbag in this, but apparently in real life, he was one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. They're like, "Martin, what are you doing? You're going to close the beaches?" And he's like, "Yeah, well, I was told that this was a shark attack." And the guy, is he not the coroner? What is that his?
I would say yes.
Yes. And he says, no, it was a propeller, it's a boating accident. And this is like another thing that kind of reminds me of my dad. He's like, well, you'll stand by that? Like, because they tell him, yeah, we'll just change the report and say it was a boating accident. And he's like, all right, stand by that. And it seems like something my dad would say in the similar situation. Not that my dad was ever in a similar situation as president of Little League in our town or anything like that. But yeah, so they're going to keep the beaches open because this guy says, no, it's just a boating accident. And as you quoted earlier, the mayor's like, look, if you yell barracuda, people go, huh? You yell shark. We got a panic on our hands on the 4th of July. So here it is. We also established this is the 4th of July or close to it. They open the beaches. It's all good. Everybody. Oh, the other thing I want to mention. As soon as the ferry gets to the other side, the mayor goes, "Oh, you can take us back now."
Yeah.
It's such a dick kind of move. But I love it. It kind of tells you all you need to know about the mayor right there. You can take us back. Like, really? I just took you over here. But whatever. All right, so like we get this scene on the beach. It's all great. Everybody's having fun. There's a dog catching a stick, everything. And this little kid, Alex Kittner, comes out. He wants to go back in the water. And his mom, who looks like significantly old enough.
she looks like 60, like it should be his grandmother or something.
To have this, like, yeah,
essentially
like
looked
10.
like that forever, like up until she died. She looked exactly like that, except she had gray hair. Yeah. Was it
Lee Ferrer or something like that?
I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. She was she just lived in the town. She was not a professional actress at the time, but yeah, she looked pretty old. But anyway, whatever. She does her part. It's fine. Anyway, Alex Kittner goes back out in the water, one of those floats. He's playing around. Cheap Brody is sitting on the beach. And this guy, I love this guy, this like really old dude. First of all, he's got like one of those bathing caps on. And like Brody thinks it's a fin for a second. He looks out and that's just this old dude. And he comes out, he's like, oh, we know all about you, Chief. You don't go in the water at all. And it's a classic line. I mean, I'm sure anybody who's seen this movie remembers that's some bad hat, Harry. Which is a great line. And even Bryan Singer's, I don't know, he's not someone we want to admire anymore, but he named his production company Bad Hat Harry, which I always thought was a great reference to this movie. Like if you watch X-Men.
Yeah, I was thinking that, and then I was thinking, like, what is the thing the guy says to Superman? Superman says to the guy. It's almost the exact same thing.
Oh, really? I didn't remember that. There's a great like dialogue here. Like Ellen Brody, Martin, Chief's wife, is kind of like, when do I get to be an Islander? Like, never.
You
whatever.
Weren't born here.
Right. Not an island.
I think she might be talking to the lady that's got like, I don't think that's funny at all.
Yeah. Are you going to close the beach? That lady, who was also in Jaws: The Revenge. Like they brought her back.
Yeah. She was at like the wake or something.
Yeah. So anyways, the guy.
Outfit. That's what it was. Superman. That's a bad outfit.
Meanwhile, the guy who was throwing the stick to the dog is looking around. He's like, "Where, Pippin? Come here, Pippin. Come here, Pippin." Pippin is gone. And all kids are playing around. Meanwhile, Alex Kittner, again, the cool shot underneath, because we don't have a shark yet. But we know what's happening. And I love this kid screams. I mean, I don't know if the kid screamed or they just put it in later or whatever, but it's pretty good. It's like that underwater, like.
Yeah, they had to do that shot a bunch of times because he couldn't stay underwater when they wanted him to.
Oh, really?
And this actually, I think, is the last. It's at least one of the last shots is when the shark grabs him off the raft. It's one of the last shots that they did.
Oh, okay. So the shark did work maybe by that point.
Well, they did. It wasn't done in order. So this was, after Spielberg had already left, that Joe Alves, I think, directed the scene to get the shot. So.
It's pretty cool. I mean, the blood is spurting around, and they do that cool Hitchcock like zoom in, which I think we even did in Durst and the Firestarter.
Yeah, we did. We tried to, and
yeah, I think we got about the same.
Not quite
effect.
As good. Okay, but close enough.
But a lot of people did it.
Like you dolly the camera in, and you're
zoom
pulling,
out, right?
Yeah, you're zooming back at the same time or something, so it gives that effect. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's but it's right in on Chief Brody's face. He sees it's going on, and he gets up, and he's still afraid of the water, so he's just yelling, "Everybody out! Everybody out! Everybody out!"
For some reason, I was watching a reaction video to this a couple months ago, and like this part hit me hard this time. And I was like, wow, what? Like that mom's going to be beating herself up for the rest of her life because she said 10 more minutes and that's it. Yeah. Right.
And that kid.
Yeah. And I was just like, but I was just like, oh man, that I wish I hadn't thought of it that way.
Well, that's what the point is, to make it that much more, effective. They also, I mean, they didn't have to give the kid a name.
We had a science teacher, right? That was at the filming of this.
That is correct. Yeah. Our seventh, Clay. Did you have Mr. Mayhew? We might as well say his name.
I did. He was one of my favorite teachers, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, he was all right. But he was an extra. He was somewhere in this scene. Anyway, yeah, everybody's getting their kids out of the water and whatever, and we get Alex Kittner's mom who's looking around. She's like, Alex, and they show the raft with a big bite taken out of it and the blood. Oh man, it's good. I mean, good movie, not good for the Kittner family, but it's movie wise,
it's good movie.
Good for us. I mean, it's powerful. Apparently, Spielberg also said, I don't want any red anywhere in the town, like shots. Nobody should be wearing red. I want the red in the water to be like that much more stark because it's blood, just so you know. So now we have this town meeting. It's established that Mrs. Kittner has offered $3,000 for anyone who can kill this shark. And everybody is up in arms. And yes, I love the mayor also he's like, Chief, why don't you talk to these people? Come on, man. You're the mayor, you know? Anyway, so he says they're going to close the beaches. And then the mayor's like, oh, only 24 hours. And everybody's like, oh, someone yells out 24 hours is like 3 weeks, which I don't know.
I always figured that was more of like, we're upset because we can't go to the beach. It was more of like it's like worth 3 weeks of losing business in our
right money,
revenue.
Yeah.
Scaled out over the course of the year if you're only making summer money.
Right. Most of your money is made in these like 10 weeks or whatever, like 12 weeks. Anyway, we get this classic. We meet Quint for the first time. The classic fingernails down the chalkboard. And he has this monologue, which apparently was originally only like, a few lines or like, one, a bit of a page of the screenplay, and they rewrote it. It's really good. I mean, he gives a whole speech about he'll find him for 3, catch him and kill him for 10. And it's great. It's a great speech. And if you're an actor, I think you should watch this movie and do this monologue or something. I don't know if people still do that. It's great. It establishes Quint right off the bat as kind of a badass, a little weird, but yeah.
And also based on a true story, not the 1916 story, but based on a true story of the thinking of the Indianapolis.
I always wondered if that was a true story, but
what, the Indianapolis?
Yeah, I actually didn't know.
Should do is go and read the Discovery Shark Week graphic novel that I colored.
Oh, very good.
One chapter dedicated just to that.
I'm just reading a little bit of it. It said 300 sailors died.
Look at you. That's like way later in the movie, though.
Yeah, you went way in Clay. Oh, Clay. That's okay. We'll get there. Don't forget.
The movie is as old as I am, so. And he's telling a story, right?
All right. Yeah. If you want to, we can do it now.
I'm going to it now. I'm just saying it's a real thing.
Right. I'm glad. Now I know.
You said you didn't even know, so I'm glad to know it's up on you.
It seems like it's so perfect. You know what I mean? Yeah. I thought they made it up. Anyway. All right, so we have a quick sort of scene where Brody and his wife, and as you mentioned earlier, she's like, "You want to get drunk and fool around?" And he's like, "Oh yeah." Like, and he's stressed out. He's reading shark books. I feel like you had one of these books, John. I don't know. Some of these pictures look familiar.
Yeah, a lot of those pictures. Like we had like a Time Life subscription to like various animal books. We had a shark book, but yeah, there was a bunch of pictures that were sort of famous at the time that were in just about every book that had great white sharks in it.
Yeah, a guy has like half his side all bitten off and everything. Yeah, it's gross. And then he yells at cause they bought his kid a sailboat for his birthday, and he's like, "Get out of there!" And sure, she's like, "Oh,
he's on the dock though. It's not like he's like sailing. They're just like it's next to a little wharf, so the little brother is like on the dock, and he's just sitting in the boat, like, "Get out of there."
He's like, "Michael's in the boat," or whatever.
Yeah, he's just sitting in the boat. Yeah, but then I love like,
"Would you relax?"
And Ellen is
that picture.
Yeah, when she sees the shark picture,
she's like, "Oh, you get out of the..."
Didn't you hear your father? Get out of the water. We also have this kind of goofy scene. It's fun. I mean, it adds to the horror element. These two guys trying to catch the shark with a roast. Like Like okay, whatever it is.
You kill me. This is the holiday roast.
Someone's
It's gonna
having
be-
a roast for 4th of July.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
so weird.
That's a very New England thing, though. To have a roast in the middle of the summer, making your kitchen all hot. The Pilgrims used to do it like this. It's too miserable.
Throws it in with the tire. The shark like pulls it. He pulls the whole dock apart. It's a tense thing because you don't see the shark, but you see like the dock turn. Like it's pretty scary. And I love the noise. It goes like as the dock turns, it's signaling that the shark is turning back and swimming at the guy. And the guy's like, "Don't look back! Take my word for it. Don't look back. Swim, swim." And the guy makes it back to the dock, and it's fine.
Can we go home now?
Yeah, and he says, "Can we go home now?" So yeah, the next day there is chaos because everyone wants that $3,000, and there's like, this is where we meet Ben Gardner, who is based on the real guy, and he was a real fisherman, as you said. There's all these people, they all want to go out and catch this shark, and they're like, $3,000 divided by 7 is whatever is how much. But then we meet Matt Hooper, who he's a shark guy, so it's really funny, and like because there's like that scene. He's like, the officer told me to tell you that you're overloading that boat, and they're like, what do you care? He's like, all right, well, is there a good restaurant around? And they're like, yeah, walk straight ahead. He's like,
That was an improvised line, apparently.
Yeah, very good. A lot of these lines are improvised.
Yeah, because I think the two guys there, it's like, you just walk straight ahead, and the two guys there hadn't met each other until that day they shot their scene, and then they became fast friends, apparently.
Oh, nice.
It's
Yeah,
just like,
so-
how long is it? How long is West Street? Like, yeah, just keep walking, you'll get there.
Yeah, just keep walking.
Just keep walking. Yeah, it's over there. That's where it is.
So yeah, Hooper introduced himself to Brody, and he's like, "I'd like to look at the remains of the first victim." And he's like,
Wait,
"All
can
right."
I say something real quick? This is the part where Hendrix is having like a cigarette outside?
Yeah,
Brody's
Yeah.
banging on the window to come in, and Hendrix hears him and just like waves, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Get in here, idiot!" kind
it's
of thing.
hilarious. Yeah, he like throws something at the window. He's on the phone. He's like, "I need more people down here," and he throws something at the window, and Hendrix is like, "Hey."
Hey, hi.
He tells him to come in here. And I love it. The way he takes the cigarette out of his mouth, he's like, "What are you doing?" Like he's standing there. He's like, and I love it. He's like, "These are your people. Go talk to them." And he's like, "These aren't my people. They're from all over the place." Because apparently the woman took an ad out in like all these newspapers saying, "Come down here and kill this shark for me." But yeah, that is a really funny scene. Hendrix is pretty funny.
I love
He doesn't
Hendrix.
do
I
anything.
think he's even
great.
better in Jaws 2 because he's got a bigger role.
Yeah, he does. Please.
I like the little interaction between Brody and Hooper too. It's like, I'm looking for Brody. I'm looking for Brody. Then he's like he's on the phone and he's like turns around and he's like, whoa, I'm Brody. Yeah, what?
Yeah.
Oh, you're the guy we have. Oh, great. It's just like the interaction between those two when they first meet is really special. I like it a lot.
Yeah, they have great chemistry, even though Richard Dreyfuss is now a lunatic. At the time, they had great chemistry. So yeah, this is a kind of a famous
Yeah.
scene.
I would just like to say that Richard Dreyfuss has had a troubled history for several years now, and he was also accused during the whole big Me Too movement of being a little handsy or something, grabby. I'm not entirely sure, but someone accused him of wrongdoings.
This is kind of like the lighter side of it. One of the documentaries that I watched was a little bit older. It was like from the 90s, and there was a whole section of it that I was like, oh, they wouldn't include this part now because it was like, yeah.
Oh, is this like where
there was
Dreyfuss
lots of-
is just hooking up all the time kind of thing?
Yeah, he's like, there was, I'm just gonna say, it was an actor. There was a lot of ladies, and then he just comes out and says, he's like, there was a lot of sex. And I was having a lot of sex. And then they cut to like some other guy, like documentary side. He's like, yeah, he was having a lot of sex. It was like almost like a parody of itself. It was like really funny.
I mean, he was a young dude back then. I mean, I suppose whatever. Anyways, they take Hooper to see the remains of Chrissy, And I didn't notice this that much as a kid, I guess. Like I notice it now, obviously, as though they pull the drawer open, it's like a morgue kind of thing. They pull the drawer open and they just take out this little box. It's like this little
It's like a
thing.
bus bucket.
Yeah, it's
The
not
bus
a
bucket full of
whole
that.
thing.
I think that's like the initial look on their face too. They're like, "Oh, that's it."
Yeah.
It's a little bucket where I should put my dirty white coffee cup that I stole from my wife and said I was going to bring back earlier.
It is a very small box. So yeah, and this is like supposedly a boating accident, and it's just like a couple of things. So they're all horrified. He's narrating into his recorder about like what is left, like partially denuded bone matter, whatever. And then I always remember this part from the TV version, right? When they would show this on broadcast TV, because he picks up the arm and he says, "This is what happens," and they had to like cut it so that you wouldn't see like the bloody sort of not bloody, but
part.
Like the stumpy part, that partially denuded bone matter. Yeah, and he says, "This is what happens," and he says, "This is not a boating accident." Yeah, and he says, "We have a shark out here," and he says, "It was a shark." So
you mentioned watching it on TV, and I was thinking like, oh, I'd seen it on cable a bunch of times, but no, I mean this movie's been around since I've been alive. It was on regular TV a lot.
Yeah,
it was like
exactly.
Channel 56 and everything. Like,
and I probably watched it like every time, Yeah. But anyway, we cut to those dopes, those dumb fishermen who said, "Yeah, walk, straight ahead." They caught a shark, and they're all excited. And that is a real dead shark that somebody caught for the production. Like they literally had to hire a guy like Quint to go down to like Florida and catch this thing. So they could have this one scene, and they had to pay this guy. Pretty crazy. I don't think they would do that now. When they say
no, they would just make one, like a fake,
right,
and then hang it.
It's crazy. Can they say like no Sharknado it, right? So, anyways, there's that classic scene that John and I used to always talk about when they're like, "What kind of shark is it?" And Hooper says, "It's a tiger shark." And they're like, "Oh, what?
Oh, yeah. That is so
I had a stroke." But they're all celebrating, and the guy, Carl Gottlieb, who plays the guy from the paper, this is like his big scene, and he wrote a draft of the screenplay as well, and he wrote the book that a lot of this information comes from, the Jaws log. Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, we need a picture for the paper." He's very vociferous.
His character in the book is much more prominent than he is in the film. Whatever, I can't remember his character's name now.
It's like Meadows or something.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, Meadows.
Yeah. So, anyways, Hooper says the bite radius is different than that on Chrissy Walken's. I'm not even really sure, to be honest, how he could tell because there was so little left of Chrissy Walken's.
Yeah, I think in the little the coffee cup busboy thing, I think like part of her torso is supposed to be in that or something.
He does say yes, like
so. I guess
that's how you can tell. Yeah. Anyways, whatever. It's a movie. We go with it. So he wants to cut it open because the digestive time or whatever is very slow. And he says anything that he's eaten in the last 24 hours is bound to still be in there. So they want to cut it open, and Brody's like, "Well, it might be the only way to tell." And actually, I got to side with the mayor on this one, right? Because he says, "Guys, we're not going to cut that thing open and see that little Kittner boy spill out all over the dock."
I'm not going to do it right now. I'll do it later.
I mean, he says he wants to do it like right now. I mean, Hooper's like, "Let's just cut it open." I don't know. I mean, maybe they wouldn't, but the mayor, if they were, the mayor is correct. Let's not see that. But this is like one of the most heart-wrenching scenes. The mother of Alex Kittner comes up. She's all black, and she says, "Chief Brody," and he's like, "Yes," and she socks him in the face like really hard. Like the sound is incredible.
It do that take like a bunch of times too, apparently.
Yeah. 17 times she slapped him.
17 times? God, I mean, he must have had quite a headache. I mean, I'm pretty sure she whacked it.
Yeah, because she didn't know how to make it, apparently.
Right. I mean, she's not an actor, so yeah. He must. I mean, good for royScheider. Wow, yeah, she pops him, And she said she heard that a woman was killed there last week, and they let people go swimming anyway. And, so it's not his fault, but she blames him anyway. It's just more like drama because he wanted to close the beaches. The mayor said no, it's a whole thing. And now he's getting blamed for her son's death. Man, and it sucks. And like the mayor's like, I'm sorry, Martin, she's wrong. And he's like, no, she's not. Oh, sad. Rough. We get another, I don't know if this is a famous scene. This is actually one of my favorite scenes. And I don't mean him and the kid, which they did in Jaws: The Revenge, where they're like doing the faces and whatever. That's all fine. But something about, we talked earlier about the Hooper and Brody kind of like camaraderie. And I feel like this is a good scene for that. Like Hooper comes in, he's got wine. He didn't know what he was serving. He brought red and white wine and everything. He wants to come and talk to Chief Brody. I don't know. Brody's already drunk, it seems like. There's a great line. He's like, how was your day? But then, Ellen Brody's there. They talk about Hooper's going to go on this 18 months at sea, to check out whatever. I love it. Chief, he's opening the wine, and they were talking about how he doesn't go in the water. And she says, oh, it's a clinical thing. There's a name for it, right? And he says, drowning. So I always thought was a great line. He opens the bottle, he pours the wine in his glass that already has something in it. It's disgusting. Ugh. Anyways, he says they're talking about sharks, and they're talking about real stories, right? Like things that happened in real life. And he says, well, why don't we have one more drink and go cut that shark open? And I love it. She says, Martin, can you do that? And he says, I can do anything. I'm the chief of police. It's like a Trump thing or something. But in this context, it's funny. Anyway, so they go back, they cut there's also a great part I forgot to mention. It kind of tells you something about Hooper too, because he's sitting there. Brody hasn't touched his plate, and he's just like, "Is anyone eating this?" And he just
helps himself.
Yeah. Classic. Anyway, so they go down, they cut the shark open, they find a license plate and a can and whatever, but no Alex Kittner. So he's like, we've got to close the beach and whatever. And Hooper's like, we got to go find them. So he gets Martin on a boat, which is pretty good. And he's drunk, but I love it. This is the scene where he's like, yeah, in Amity, one man can make a difference. He's out there drinking. He's got the bottle just like in his hand. It's great. So they find a boat that Martin Brody says, oh, that's Ben Gardner's boat. It's all chewed up. And Hooper wants to go down and check the hull. I don't know why whatever. But he doesn't even put like a tank or anything. He just dives down with, flippers and whatever, mask. He finds a tooth, as he says, the size of a shot glass in the hull. And as he's poking around, we get the big scare. Ben Gardner's disembodied head floats out. Literally every time people scream in the theater. It's amazing. And he drops his flashlight, drops the tooth. He comes up and he's pretty scared. So now they're trying to convince the mayor, we got to close the beaches. We got to hire someone. And there's the famous, if you ever took the Jaws ride at Universal, they show that sign. We did that. Yeah.
Together. Yes.
Yeah. With someone has painted a giant fin, and there's a girl on a surfboard, and someone they painted her saying help. It's kind of funny. Even the mayor's like, I want those paint happy bastards found and hung up by their Buster Browns, which is such a great they're Buster Browns. Classic. Anyways, he says they're not going to close the beaches. Tomorrow is the 4th of July. It's going to be one of the best summers they've ever had. He says, you do whatever you have to do to keep them safe, but they will be open. So here we go, 4th of July. And the beaches are crowded, but there's this kind of police presence. There's a helicopter flying by. I love the mayor is kind of like, bastards. You see him kind of mouth. He doesn't say he mouths like, bastards. There's all kinds of boats out there looking for sharks and everything. And no one's in the water. So the mayor goes up to this guy. He's like, why aren't you in the water?
This guy is also in Jaws Revenge too.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
This guy that looks like To me, he always looked like a human version of Fozzie Bear. If Fozzie Bear was a human, he'd look like this guy.
Waka waka.
I love it. I mean, he's obviously some kind of, because he was in one of the earlier scenes, so he's like a town politician or whatever, and he's like, "Oh, hi there." He's like, "Go in the water," or whatever. He's like, "Well, I'm trying to absorb some of this sun," which nobody does anymore. Let's face it. But yeah, he's like, "Please." And so he takes his kids and his wife or whatever, and they go in the water. And then other people are like, "Oh, we can go in the water. Yay." Although Chief Brody's smart, well, not really smart enough, but he tells his son, take the boat and go in the pond, which I guess is sort of, they don't really say, but it's sort of off, sort of over there, away from the ocean. I love the kid. He says, "Pond's for old ladies."
I have a 2-3-year-old man.
Yeah, he says, "Do it for the old man." And the kid's like, "All right." That's good. Because in the second one, that kid is an asshole. But at this point, he's still like, "All right." Anyways, so everybody's playing in the water. We get this fin coming out. And everybody's like, "Get out of the water, get out of the water, there's a fin." And it's two kids with a fake fin. Everybody's like, I love the kid. He's like, "He made me do it." But he's like half in the water. So it's like, he made me do it. Meanwhile, they cut to this sort of artist woman who's painting, and she sees the fin in the pond. And she starts yelling, "Shark, shark." And everybody's like, "Oh, yeah." Even Brody's like, "Oh, now what?" And his wife reminds him that their son is in the pond. And I love this shot of Brody. First, he starts to kind of walk through the crowd, and then it's almost like,
and like the music starts to pick up, and it starts to swell, and then then it will cut down. It cuts out, like, when they show them in the pond trying to do whatever with the sail, and then
starting to tide.
Then it cuts to like everybody running down the bridge, and the music is just, it's so good.
Yeah, it's really well done. And there's a kind of, I don't know why whatever. I guess you feel bad for him. He's kind of this goofy guy. He's like, "Are you boys okay over there?"
Yeah, to say at the video store when something was going wrong.
And then so the shark comes, tips over that guy's boat, and I guess the kids in their shock, they tip over their own boat. And yeah, this is one of the few times you see the shark, but he's underwater, so it's hard, like they couldn't really do much, but he eats the guy. And this is another thing they used to cut out. I remember the TV version, like you just see his leg, the leg, drink to his leg. But yeah, so that guy does. And Michael, is like in shock also. But Sean, the little kid, is on the beach, and he's like, like he's kind of scared and crying too. It's really well done. And the shark swims right by Michael, and I guess he's already eaten enough. He doesn't need it.
There's that deleted scene here too, where the guy had saved Michael, but the shark still had him in the mouth, and he was spitting up blood or something. And they were like, "Oh, we cut it because it was too horrific." But they do show it in the one of the making ofs, and it just doesn't look good. So probably the reason they got rid of it.
Yeah. So there's this great scene. They take Michael out of the water, and they say he's in shock, and Brody like gets all these blankets and towels, puts them on and everything. But then he looks out into the water, like it's almost like this time it's personal, or now it's personal. Now. So they go to we cut to the hospital. They're saying he's in shock. They're gonna keep him overnight, but he should be fine and go home in the morning, whatever. But Brody's got the little kid, Sean, and he tells his wife, "Hey, take him home." And she's like, "To New York?" Like she's done with this Amity shit. She doesn't even want to be an islander now. But Brody, who seemed like he didn't really want to be on an island, but he's like, "No, home here." Like he's gonna get that fucking shark.
He's got a job to do.
And this is also, I love this scene. I love royScheider in this scene, because the mayor comes in and he's kind of looking kind of sheepish. And he's like, "Hey, Larry, you got a pen?" And he's like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, a pen." And he grabs a pen, right? He just reaches into his pocket and grabs a pen. And he's like, "We're going to sign this thing. We're going to hire that guy." He's like, "We're going to hire Quint to kill the shark." And like the mayor, it's funny, he's got a cigarette in the hospital, but whatever.
It's
it was
1975.
Yeah.
Different
It's
time.
also like the Western too. It's like, well, we got to really seal the deal here. We're going to deputize Clint. You deputize.
Basically, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is like that, yeah. But I love, like, he's so royScheider is pretty intense. You really get like he's selling it. He's like, I don't know if I can do it. He's all kind of like, like, I was just acting in the town's best interest. He's like, Larry, what are you talking? He says, you're the mayor of Shark City, and these people think you want the beaches open. But then I think this is like a humanizing moment for the mayor, because he says, my kids run that beach too. And then they don't show it. You just hear the pen on the paper. It's pretty cool. I love it. And then, yeah,
I'm
Brody.
physically incapable of saying RoyScheider's name correctly, so I probably said Schneider earlier, and I've never been able to say his name. 2010's RoyScheider.
Roy from that's right. He was in 2010, and for some reason I remember him as the Punisher's dad in that the Thomas Jane.
That was his last movie. That's what
It's like the one I've never seen. Yeah.
Oh, it stinks.
Oh no, it stinks, but it's so funny because it's like we're at a family barbecue reunion party thing, and then they all grab their guns. It's just like, oh, okay.
I think that was his last movie. Oh, so sad. Well, whatever. He got paid. So yeah, like I love that scene, and this is where the movie shifts. And we're done with the island and all that political crap. It's just they hire Quint. Hooper is gonna go on the boat with him, but first, so they go to Quint's house, and this is where we get that great line where he gives, I don't know, whiskey, or it's not whiskey because it's not brown, but he gives them some alcohol that he said, made it myself, and he says, here's to swimming with bow-legged women. It's just something I have also said in bars all over the city.
You got it. One of my favorite bands, the Swingin' Utters, they have this EP that's basically, I always equate to my summers on Nantucket, and it's like kind of like summertime beachy kind of stuff, and they start off that with like the singer going, here's to swimming with bow-legged women, and then it took me a while to realize that it was from Jaws, and I just thought it was always part of the song.
Oh, that's a classic line. So we get like Hooper and Quint, they kind of establish that they are not alike, so we say. We get that great scene where he has to tie him a nos, and he throws it, he ties it, and he throws it. I mean, he doesn't even look at it. He just goes, let me see your hands. And he's like, you got city hands, Mr. Hooper, and counting money all your life. Anyways, like it's like movie stuff, but it's good. It establishes that they're three very different people. They're all gonna go out and hunt this shark, but he says, I'll bring him for ballast, Chief, which is, I don't know what that means. He'll get eaten. I don't know, but yeah. So they set out. We got this great. Oh, they also establish Hooper brings his shark cage onto the boat, anti-shark cage, I should say. And we get the first instance of Quint singing his sea shanty. But he says, farewell and adieu, dear fair Spanish lady. It's great. What do you think of that? Is that good?
Well done.
Thank you. So they're out. We also get that great, when Ellen Brody says to her husband, like, what do I tell the kids? And he says, tell them I've gone fishing. So this is it. This is like the book. They go out and come back and go out and come back, like a few days. Like it's like several days. This is it. They're going out, and they're not just going to come back and go back out. So we get the first like instance of him, Brody, throwing the chum out there, and this is where he drinks his full can and Narragansett, crushes the can and throws it down, and Hooper crushes his little styrofoam cup.
That was an improvised joint as well.
Oh, very good. We get this is Chekhov's tank, air tank. We established that they could blow up because Martin Brody pulls the wrong thing, that they fall, and Hooper gets really mad at him, and he says, damn it, Martin, you screw around these things, they could blow up. And he winks at the camera. No, he doesn't, but he could. This is a kind of a more fun, like, these guys don't get along thing. Quint catches something. He's got his fishing pole out there, and he catches something. And taking an awful lot of line, like it's pulling the thing and whatever. And like Hooper's like, it's not a shark. And he's like, well, but it does eat through his fishing line. And he's like, well, like, don't you tell me my business again. And this is one of my favorite lines when Hooper's like, it doesn't prove a thing. And he says, well, it proves one thing, Mr. Hooper. It proves you wealthy college boys don't have the education and admit when you're wrong. Which is another thing I've said to people before. But anyway.
I remember when you said that to me at my wedding. I was like, what does that got to do with any? No, I'm kidding.
I mean, I went to college too, so I don't know why I say that to people. Whatever. We do get like a kind of a fun little thing where Brody gets a little cut in his head because that comes up later, but not a big deal. Anyway, but it's just more to establish the tension and that these guys are trying to, they're not getting along out there. And then he says, start that chum line again. And he's like, let Hooper take a turn. He's like, Hooper dryers that boat, Chief. So he's throwing the chum out there, which is just gross fish parts. And I love he's got his cigarette hanging out of his mouth and he's throwing.
He's got his bottle of spice too.
He's got his what?
He's got a bottle of Old Spice that he's putting on like a hand towel, like
a rag or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, this is the big moment. This is the one that, like, if you talk about Jaws with anybody, if they've ever seen it, they remember this part. He's throwing the chum out and he says, because he tells Hooper to go slow ahead. He's like, slow ahead? I can go slow ahead. Why don't you come down here and chum some of this shit? And the shark pops his head out and Brody is horrified. This is his first encounter. I mean, this whole movie, he's been dealing with the shark, but he's never seen it. And now he is freaked out. And this is the famous line. He goes back and he tells Quint, you're going to need a bigger boat. And that is, that's the one you hear all the time. The bigger boat line. There's all this stuff. Like, this is the first time they're all seeing the shark. They established it as Quint says it is a 25-footer and 3 tons of them. Is that possible?
It's a big shark. Generally speaking, it's out of the ordinary. There are reports that maybe there are sharks that big, but generally speaking, great whites don't get quite that large.
I mean, 3 tons.
Yeah. Maybe you might, a really big one might be 12 to 15 feet long.
So, I mean, this is a movie, so it's fine.
So it's all right. Yeah, like the next in Jaws, they just keep getting bigger and bigger for each movie. So.
Now we got those Sharknado things. They're like 100,000 or the Meg or something like that. They're just not even close.
I'm reading this article and it says the Jaws novel Shark 20 feet, movie Shark 25 feet, Jaws 2 30 feet, Jaws 3 35 feet, Jaws Revenge down to a quaint 28 feet. So that's just that, but it doesn't say how big they can get. I think we're thinking, like what you said, Joe, like maybe 12 feet, 20 feet at the most.
Yeah, a 25-foot shark is very rare.
Yeah, that's again, movie sharks are bigger than
they should be.
So, but I love the part like, Hooper's telling Brody to get out so I need a picture. And he's like, I need something in the foreground to give some scale. And he's like, foreground my ass. And Brody, he's like, I'm not going to get out there. And we get the whole thing with the barrel. So like, you shoot a harpoon into the shark and it's attached to a barrel. The barrel is supposed to bring him up. And Quinn had already established that once he hunted a shark that took 2 barrels, and that seemed like a lot. Like it took 2 barrels. He was like, oh my God. The barrel goes under, like the shark takes the barrel down. And it's like, oh, all right. So, and then Brody's like, okay, so we're going to go in and get another boat, right? A bigger boat. And he's like, no, we got 1 barrel on, so we stay out. He's like, yeah, but we can get a bigger boat. It's really funny. Then we get another famous scene. They're all kind of drunk. It's nighttime. I don't know if they're drinking the apricot brandy that they told Quint they would give him, but they're drinking something. And they start to compare their scars. This is like another famous sort of thing, I think, in the movie. Quints aren't really all nautical related. Like one of them, he's got in a fight, he said, on St. Patty's Day in Boston. And then one was like a arm wrestling match. I love it. Celebrating my third wife's demise.
Demise.
Demise. Yeah. So but then they start comparing like, oh, this is a Thresher shark, or this is whatever, and then they
I like the Dreyfuss shows his chest, and he's like, "You're wearing a sweater."
I know it's a really hairy chest. I've used that on people as well, but yeah,
That's a frequent Thurston insult.
Yeah, my hairy chest. But he says Mary Ellen Moffat.
Use, not that people.
No, people use it on me too. I don't know. No, not many people see my hairy chest. So. But I have one, just so you know, if you're listening, but you're not. But yeah, it says Mary Ellen Moffat. She broke my heart, and they're all laughing and whatever, and then he's like, "What's?" Brody's like, he looks at Quentin. He's like, "What's that one on your arm?" And he's like, "Oh, that was a tattoo. I got it removed." And like not Brody. Hooper's so kind of drunk, and he's like, "Let me guess, mother." And so, like, Quint's kind of like, yeah, no, that one's not funny. And he says it was the USS Indianapolis. And Brody doesn't know the story, but Hooper does. And the story was, I love it, as Quentin puts it, we delivered the bomb, the Hiroshima bomb. And like, apparently the mission was so secret, the Japanese sunk the ship, and all the survivors were out in the ocean, and sharks came and ate like most of them. And yeah, it's pretty scary. Like, he tells it so well.
If
This
I'm
story
allowed
had
to
just
do my
been declassified not too long before they were shooting the movie, so they were like, "Ooh, let's work this in."
Wow. I mean,
Gives Quint a good reason to hate sharks. It's his motivation.
Absolutely.
But if you'll allow me to pick up from when you were chastising me earlier.
I'm sorry. Please.
It's okay. It's okay. So when Quint says there are 1,100 men, is actually closer to 895, that's still a lot of fucking guys. And he has the date wrong. It was closer to July 30th, not June 29th. And there was something about 300.
316 people were rescued.
300,
I think.
Yeah, 300 sailors died. Indianapolis sank within 12 minutes.
Gee. I mean, he tells this story, like the way he tells the story about like a bunch of people, like, you know, you'd see a shark and you'd start screaming, and like, sometimes a shark would go away, sometimes it wouldn't go away, and like, and he says there's a guy he saw like bobbing up and down in the water, and he like went over and touched him, and he just like, he said he'd been bitten in half below the waist, but he was like floating. And then he says, "I'll never put on a life jacket again," which sort of comes up later. I mean, it's crazy when you think about it. They were writing this like literally as they went along, and there's still like cool moments of like foreshadowing and whatever, things that lead to other things. But yeah, it's a great moment. And Robert Shaw, like when you think about, like, he had already was supposed to be off filming another movie at this point, like, and then he was like, "Oh, all right, I'll finish this."
Also, very, very drunk when they shot this, and fucked it up badly, and called Spielberg and was like, "How bad was it?" And Spielberg's like, "Pretty bad." So they shot it again. He did it all in one take, sober.
Wow.
Yeah. So, just adding on to that, he asked if he could have a couple drinks before, and then when he showed up to the scene, he practically had to get like, you know, a couple of buddies had to like kind of direct him onto the boat, onto the set to do it. And then like John said, yeah, we did it the next day. But he was like, "I think I want to do this, you know, a couple drinks in me."
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's so good. Well, I mean, I'm glad they reshot it. I don't know what the original one was like, but apparently it's pretty bad. It's kind of, they have like that sort of, they start singing because they hear a whale singing, and that kind of inspires them to start singing, and "Show me the way to go home," which it's pretty, like, I feel like if this were done now, what would what would you do? Would you go out and start singing like Journey or something? Like what would you like? You know what I mean? I love a good sing along, but I mean, like, what would you sing now? It's interesting. I mean, a song that everybody would know.
Sea shanties and wet panties. From Broken Lizard.
Well, Richard Dreyfuss did apparently have a lot of sex, so maybe that was.
Oh, he did. Yeah, what would we sing? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, what would you sing if we were all just out on a boat, drunk?
The Weezer song, the sweater song.
Yeah, maybe you would sing the sweater song. Everybody was singing it last night, but like while they're singing, the shark comes and starts banging into the boat. He's like, "Shut up! Shut up! Stop singing!" There's the tension. They're like, start the engine. I don't know why. So Brody keeps going for his little handgun, which I mean, good for him, but I don't know if that's gonna do it. You know,
but shoots bullets.
It does shoot bullets. But anyways, yeah. So while the shark was like, they actually show like the nose going through. So water gets in the engine basically of the boat. Anyways, the next day they're kind of fixing up. The engine's kind of all beat up, and the barrel pops up. And Brody's like, Quentin, the barrel's up. And he actually says, it's right in the stern. Good for you, Brody. You know your nautical terms.
I think here's now a good time also to talk about, just to interject right before all of this stuff was, besides the shark having production problems, they built 2 orcas, and one of the orcas like sprung a leak and was sinking, and the actors were on the ship, and also like they had really expensive like sound equipment and cameras that also were like the guys were like holding above their heads, and I guess the sound guy had this really $50,000 like sound recorder thing, and Spielberg's like, get the actors off the boat, and the sound guy's like, screw the actors, get this thing off the boat. And they ended up like kind of fixing it, but it's funny that the orca was actually sinking at a certain point during the production, like one of the many problems that they had in this movie.
Well, I think one of them was designed to just sink, and the other one was just like a regular boat. But yeah, like I don't know which. Probably the one that was designed is like they were sinking.
Yeah, it's sinking a couple days too early. We haven't got to that scene yet.
This is also one of this is one of my something else I say a lot when Brody is about had it now. And they're like, where you going? He's like, I'm gonna make a phone call. So he gets on the radio and he's like, hey, mayday, okay. Quinn comes in and just smashes the radio to bits. And he says, excuse me, Chief. And he hands him like the bat that he smashed it with. And I didn't know what this meant as a kid either. Brody's like, you're certifiable, Quinn. You're certifiable. I didn't even know what that meant, but now I know. And yes, he is certifiable. But the shark is coming back. They get another barrel on it. So now he's got 2 barrels. They're trying to, they have that cool, I think even on the soundtrack, it's called like 2-barrel chase or something. They're actually like chasing the shark down. And they get another barrel in him, and it still goes under. But then they pop back up. And they tie it to the cleats. And there's that cool moment where, because Hooper and Brody are tying the ropes on, and Hooper gets like squeezed in there. He's kind of like, he's like, that does look like it would hurt. So the shark is just swimming away, and he's like pulling the boat like with him almost. They're trying to get him up, and the shark is like stronger than the engine of the boat. We also get the tanks rattling a little bit again, so we get another tank reference. They come in 3s, although in this one it's like 5, but that's it.
Yeah, that's how they go. They come in 5s.
They come in 5s.
3.
3, so 3. So they get a 3rd barrel on it, and yeah, like the shark is still dragging at the boat, and like the water's getting in the engine, and then he pulls the cleats right off. And this is, I don't know if this is like intentional or it's just Quint being weird, but he's like, not with 3 barrels. Not with 3 barrels on him. And then he says it again. He's like, he's going under. He's like, not with 3 barrels on him.
Barrels with 3 barrels on him. Get down there. Not with 3. No, with 3 barrels.
But he does go under. And this is when they're like, oh. And they're like, have you ever had one do this? And Quint's like, no. So now the shark is coming after them. And this is another one of his lines. He's like, draw him in the shallows. And draw him in the shallow water. They're going to draw him in and drown him. And he starts going towards shore. And I love it. He's like, we're heading in cheap. He's like, thank Christ.
That's one of my favorite sayings. Thank Christ.
Thank Christ. But he goes a little, he kind of pushes it a little too hard, blows out the engine, and there's all this smoke. It's like really black smoke comes out. And he's like, stop the boat. Stop it. It's great. The engine just kind of blows up. And they have to use like the fire extinguisher. Meanwhile, Hooper's getting all his stuff out of the way so it doesn't get hit with the fire extinguisher. But so Quint, you can tell he's kind of like, well, yeah, I don't know what to do. I've never had one do this. He hands Hooper and Brody life jackets, which he said he would never put on again. But it's kind of like it's a sign that he's like, I don't know, man. 3 barrels.
Well, the Coast Guard wouldn't give him a license if they didn't have life jackets on board. So he has to have them. Right. He chooses not to wear one.
Chooses not to wear. But he not only does he do that, but he also he picks up Hooper's like harpoons and stuff or whatever, and he's like, "What do you do with these things of yours?" So this is the part I'm always a little. Maybe you can explain because he says he can put like strychnine or whatever into him. If you can get close enough, I can jab him in the mouth because he's like, you get this little needle through his skin, which it's a little needle. Like Quint is like, yeah, this is. But then like when he goes in the cage, it's like a big. Like a harpoon type thing. So I don't know, whatever.
Doesn't he empty the stuff into the? Yeah. I don't really know how it works.
I don't either, but whatever, it's fine.
There's some weird things going on with this shark cage scene too. That just understand how it works because it's got those 2 flotation things on it to keep the cage.
Somehow it goes.
It keeps sinking. Yeah. So.
I don't know.
Well,
yeah,
also,
they don't really.
I have a little. I can't explain all the little things, but what I was referencing before when they had that little person in the cage and they were getting these shots. You know, obviously they want to make sure the actor was safe and alive, and he was, and thank God. But when they captured all of that stuff, they rewrote this little part of the movie. Like it added. They had this footage, and he was. Spielberg had meant for the story to take a particular turn, but they kind of like rewrote what had actually happened in the footage they captured to be part of this scene. An actual real the way they did it in the documentary said. So the shark rewrote part of the movie, which I thought was a funny line.
That is, he should get credit in the screenplay.
Well, he comes back in Jaws of Revenge.
That's right. That's right.
And he gets all his royalties and stuff from that. He's doing fine now. Well, actually, he bought his mother a house.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
And with that money, and never even watched the movie. But
wait a minute, that's Michael Caine you're talking about.
Wait, no, I missed the Oscars for that movie.
I'm sorry. The same thing happened with Shark. But they don't cover it as much.
Shark missed the Oscars.
Missed the Oscars, yeah, and. Was very upset about it, but he did like the house that small.
Oh yeah, so the shark cage. Brody points out the shark would tear the cage to pieces. Hooper says, "You got any suggestions?"
Oh, we used to say that every time we had to do something.
Anytime we had to do something. You're gonna need better suggestions. They put this cage together, and they lower it into the. They also linger because they bring one of his air tanks out to him, and they linger on the other one for just a few seconds. So that's number 4. These things come in 5s. But anyway, so Hooper goes in the water, shark goes in the water. Cage goes in the water, shark's in the water, and the shark does in fact tear the cage to pieces as Brody predicted. And
the shark was also in the water. As Quint predicted.
Yes, that's right. So everybody was right. And they show the harpoon, which apparently had the strychnine in it, although it wasn't the little needle that he had pointed out. It's a big needle, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Yeah, that goes sailing off into the water. Now in the book, Hooper is killed in this scene.
Well, also, I
Right?
think he was supposed to be killed. Yes, he was in this too. But as Clay was mentioning, the footage they got of the shark that got tangled in all the ropes and stuff, there was no little person in the cage. And that was another thing that they were like, well, Hooper survives then because this is just too good to not use.
And it was really cool. Yeah, the shark gets like tangled up and he's like on top of the cage. Hooper, meanwhile, goes down. Hooper's like, I'm out of here. But it is a cool scene because like he's trying to stab the shark, but just like a knife, and it's like again that underwater like like it does convey the horror somehow. You know what I mean? Like when you're the shark is like and they're trying to drag the cage up, and meanwhile the whole thing just snaps. And I love it. Brody's just like, rig something. It's like, well, what am I don't know how to do this. What am I, a construction worker? But they do rigs. They bring the cage up, and now they just see the destroyed cage and no Hooper. And this is like the big finish. The shark, which probably wouldn't happen, but it jumps on the boat and crushes what do they call a little back thing? Whatever, that little back piece of the boat.
I should know this, having grown up around boats and stuff, but sorry.
Kind of it's bow and
This is
stern.
it's
the deck.
Right, the stern.
Part of the boat.
The poop deck.
Okay, it's the poop deck.
This is one of those, the shot where it's coming right out and it opens the mouth towards the camera. I'm like, that's a great shot. The shot after it, where it's a side view of it, like blank.
Yeah,
Like, that is a bad shot.
Yeah, when it moves too much, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of looks fake. But yeah, the shark, when he actually jumps up, so the boat's already in rough shape anyway, and it's starting to go down, and like it's being dragged down. So Quint is trying to hold on, and it's the tank that crushes his hand, and he's not able to hold on.
Times is that
because it's like on like a table or whatever, and he slides down. Brody's trying to grab his hand, and Quint just no mas. He is devoured, and it's a really like, I don't know. I remember that specifically because of all the things they cut out. I don't know if they cut this out on TV or not. But when
they cut out the part where he spits the blood up. But
yeah,
the rest of it they left in.
It's pretty violent for 1975, I think. Like that shark, and he's got like the knife that he tried to use earlier, and he's trying to stab it. Like, but yeah, when he spits out the blood, it's pretty. I think that I do remember that. Like, I remember seeing it on TV and being like, "Oh yeah, that's gross," and then renting it or something, or seeing the non-edited version, being like, "Whoa,
well, that's even more gross."
Yeah, like damn, that's messed up. And so yeah, Quint is gone, and meanwhile, so Brody is left alone. The boat is sinking. You can still see a floating can of Narragansett in like the wreckage of the boat. It's amazing. The shark comes back.
I do like the squids from his mouth. Like,
yeah,
all the blood coming.
I know. It's amazing.
Pretty cool.
The way that they shoot this scene, if you ever see any behind the scenes stuff from them shooting this scene, if you just turn the camera around the other way, they are practically like you could see land. It's like right there. It's like 100 feet away. In the movie, it makes you feel like he's out in the middle of nowhere.
They're like way out in the Atlantic somewhere. Yeah, they think that's pretty cool.
That cues me for another short knowledge drop. Is that when they were, and I think John talked about this when we did Jaws of Revenge, but when they were shooting these scenes, they didn't want there to be sailboats going by, so they kept having to like wait like 7 minutes for people out there having fun. They didn't want there to be any fun in the water, so they had to wait for the horizon line to not have any sailboats in it, and they couldn't. I guess now they would be like, you can't sail here, or whatever, on a big
remove them with a computer.
Oh yeah, they would
just be like,
you're exactly right. They would just.
But back then, they'd have to wait till the boat went by, and by then, their whole setup had moved because they had floated in different directions.
Yeah,
and the shark sank. I'm just kidding.
Well, there's that.
No, but yeah, I mean, back then, that's why to me it's so amazing that this movie is as good as it is. So, anyways, yeah, so the shark busts through, and Brody's there, and he's got he grabs the tank, and at first it looks like he's trying to hit him with it, but he ends up just shoving it into his mouth. And then now at this point, the boat sort of rises and falls at various points. I'm not gonna.
You know, it also gets sunny and cloudy as throughout the scene too.
Yeah, but it's still. I'm not gonna knock it too much. This is one of my favorite endings of any movie ever that I've ever seen of all time. Brody gets out. He gets Quint's rifle. He's on like the mast.
Yes.
And he's trying to shoot it. Like he says, show me the tank. And the music is rising, and he's shooting. He keeps missing. I love it. He's saying, blow up. Like he's like trying to just mentally like make it happen. And he finally, as the shark is right almost on him, he says, smile, you son of a bitch. And it blows up, and it's amazing. And it's the greatest ending to any movie ever.
He doesn't say bitch.
I love it. I can't.
Does he say smile, you son of a bitch? Do they like?
Well,
it's sort of both. You can hear him say bitch.
Actually,
They also do the explosion gunshot thing at the same time. So.
Yeah, they ducked out the audio. He does say it, but they mixed it down so you can't hear him like actually swear. Yeah.
And it's just so cool. And I love like Martin Brody just goes like like it's like I love that he's so happy he did it. Like you don't see Schwarzenegger be like I killed you. You know what I mean? Like this guy, he's a regular guy, and he won. You know, it's amazing. And apparently that was Spielberg's idea. So in the book, the shark just kind of dies. Like
because of the barrels, because of
right.
It drowns because of it. And I think Quint's leg gets wrapped around one of the ropes, and he gets dragged down too, or something, and that's how he dies.
Right. He doesn't get eaten. He gets dragged under.
I was not critiquing, but I was considering when he is so excited, which he's obviously excited because this guy like killed his buddy. You know what I mean? But but he's like so excited. He's so like like laughing, which I guess is kind of like madness, glee, adrenaline, more instead of like, oh, I just saw my guy get fucking eaten in half. Like, you know what I mean? And maybe it's like a trauma response too. It's just kind of like, I can't deal with that now, so I'm just gonna be laughing and
Well, I think it's also like all this stuff. I mean, his son almost got, like eaten. There's like all these people, all the stuff dealing with the mayor and the townsfolk, and like I got this thing, like after all that build up and everything. It's just incredible. Like, and he was afraid to go in the water, and here he is out there killing this shark. It's just, I don't know. It's just, I think it is adrenaline and just like elation, like, oh my God, I did it. Like after all that. And he thinks Hooper is dead at this point too. So he probably thinks he's whatever. What's he going to do? Like I'm out here. I don't know what I'm going to do now, but I killed the thing. So who cares?
I like that Hooper just stayed underwater hiding and just waited until everything went down. And he's like, I'm back.
That explosion must have been the shark dying, so I'll just go back now.
That's the Clay Inferno move too. Like, oh, there's something going on over there.
Well, that's what they call it in the script. The classic. Yeah. It's like, and then Hooper pulls the classic Clay Inferno.
Yeah, I'll let them deal with it, and then I'll come around and be like, oh, that's figured out already? Okay, cool.
I mean, it is pretty convenient. I guess we don't know how long Brody was up there.
Well, I mean, the whole time, though. I mean, it's...
well, right. Could have been, like, hours that Hooper finally decided, maybe I'll go back up and see what's going on up there.
The movie happens in real time, essentially, after Hooper swims down to the bottom, so he's been down there for, like, 10 minutes or so anyway.
Well, maybe he was just scared shitless. I mean,
Yeah, maybe.
If I was him, I'd be like,
I would have just
fuck this.
I'd swim towards shore now at this point while he's distracted.
Yeah, right. Well, Hooper does come back. He sees Brody there, and he and Brody have like a nice little reunion, and they laugh, and he says, Quint, and he says, no. And then Brody says, can we get on those? And they get the barrels, and they paddle in on the barrels between like two barrels between like a plank. I love it. Brody. Another like my dad thing. I feel like he says, "What day is it?" And he's like, it's Wednesday or whatever. He's Tuesday. No, it's Wednesday. He's like, I think the tide is with us. Like my dad always knew the tide. Like my dad was like that guy. And then he's just, I used to hate the water.
My dad always knows the tide.
Yeah, it's like an old.
He always he's like, I gotta leave to go fishing at it's 2 a.m. Yeah, it's low tide. I don't know if it was in or out. I couldn't tell you what he was saying to me. It was like, yeah, I'm gonna leave because it's fishing time. Tide.
Yeah, tide. My dad. I think my dad would always just read it in the paper or something, but he always knows. Oh yeah, it's a low tide or whatever in the papers. But yeah, Brody says, I used to hate the water, and yeah, Cooper's like, I can't imagine why. Which is a nice little, again, for the last line in the movie. I kind of feel like if the movie were made now, like they would just end it on Brody blowing up the shark, and that would kind of just be it. And you'd assume that he would get in. I love that they show it, and literally as the credits are rolling, they show them like getting to shore.
Yeah, they actually get to the shore,
Yeah, it's great. And yeah, credits roll, no post-credit scene or anything of like the shark going, I'll be back or anything.
I'll get my revenge.
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
And then I'll be in 3D.
Yeah, and then it'll be just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water.
Anyways, that is Jaws.
Come on.
Whoa. I guess I've already established it is one of my favorite movies. I don't know if you want me to talk first.
You might as well just talk first. You're so excited.
Sure. I mean,
you got that adrenaline going. You just killed that shark.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I said a lot. It's really, there's so many fun, memorable scenes. It's such a well-made movie. Like I said, this is a Spielberg. We talked a little about Spielberg, but like, he was young. He was just young enough to just be like almost stupid enough to, you know what I mean? He didn't have that like, oh, this is how we do things. He was just like, let's just get this done. And obviously went on to do many great things. Not recently, I'll be honest, but Spielberg was, this set him off on a path because he wasn't going to do this movie because he didn't want to be known as like, oh, I just did the truck thing. Am I going to be known as the truck shark guy? And somebody told him, if you do this movie, you can pick any movie you want after this, which is basically what he did. And I mean, he's one of our all-time great directors, I think, of this era anyway. This movie's almost 50 years old, but I don't know. It will always be one of my favorite movies. I've seen it, like I said, 100 times. It's an A. We pointed out a few of the little flaws, like the shark looking fake or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. It's a treasure. God damn it. It's a treasure.
Yeah.
No A+ for your all-time favorite movie of all time?
Sure. Whatever. I don't know. Do I give A+? I guess I'll give it an A+.
It's happened.
Yeah, I guess it has happened. I remember, and I guess I'll steal this. I don't want to steal this from you, John, but I agree with it, so I guess I'll steal it. But like, we used to love watching the shark parts, right? As kids. And it was the same thing with Godzilla movies almost. I just want to watch Godzilla kill people. I don't want to watch the shark eat people. But now it's like, oh, I appreciate what the people are doing.
Yeah. I think it was like in my early 30s when I finally was like, oh, the people part's really good too.
I mean, we watched it so long just for the shark parts.
Yeah, and the shark's only in it for like 12 minutes of screen time or something. I forget.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's the movie itself also, I should say, is paced pretty well. Like the scene, like the scene with the guys and the roast. It's a little. You have to just throw things in sometimes just for the, to add a little bit of tension or whatever, drama. But that doesn't really have any impact on anything. But it's fun enough. But yeah, like once they get out of that boat, it's pretty intense. Even the drinking Scar scene, because of the Indianapolis story, it's very compelling, and this is why we still show it every year, and it's especially around here in North Dakota.
It's an oceanside North Dakota resorts all over the place.
Yeah, A+, one of my favorite movies. Everyone should go see it. Done.
Yes, it's very good.
Yes, it's very good.
Very good.
Who's next? Who's next?
I'll go next. I
Don't
don't
matter.
mind. I'll go, and then John can wrap it up because he's also a super fan. I'm not a Jaws head like the two of you, but it's not like I have anything bad to say, or never could I have said that it ever bored me. I did watch it like when it was on TV. I didn't like, it wasn't something I like really paid attention to until maybe, I know that Durson's a fan, and I know I've seen it like, within the past few years, and I watched it again. And also, like, I didn't feel like I needed to like really pay that much attention, so I got to spend some time watching some behind the scenes stuff, which I always love watching behind the scenes stuff of movies, and this has some good stuff out there to catch up on. Because of stuff that I learned when we were talking about Jaws: The Revenge. You guys are talking about problems with the shark and everything. It's not necessarily stuff that I know. But anyways, I think that, like I said before, the Spielberg, John Williams thing, there's just something magical about that. It's great performances, great, literally great cinematography, a great story. That's like kind of small, it's not Avengers Endgame. It's like this small town. It's a police officer. It's the hero that has, it's the geeky scientist guy comes in and is there to help out, and then this rogue old sailor guy. It's like the sailor guy, like on The Simpsons or whatever, like the Pegleg guy.
Yarr.
Yeah, like you got one of those guys. So it's like a little bit of the kind of nostalgia for our youth growing up in North Dakota and going to my family. We did actually go to Martha's Vineyard a few times for like a family vacation, but we'd usually go to Nantucket, but almost the same thing. And so
for sure.
It just reminds me of like going to the beach and stuff like that. And I just never was like, like I said before, like I'm a spacey kind of guy. I don't actually like the beach. I don't like sand. Don't you hate sand? I don't like sand.
No, it's sand.
I don't like.
It's everywhere. Whatever.
Yeah. I hate being in the sun. I don't like swimming in salt water. I find the beach entirely unpleasant, and but it has nothing to do with being afraid of sharks. But when I was growing up, I did go on a few family vacations with my uncle on a boat, and so I spent a little bit of time on a boat, learned how to tie knots and sail a little bit here too. So I kind of remember, youthful nostalgia for like just parts of my life that are relatable to this movie. And yeah, the Spielberg-ness of it all, and how like this movie, Jurassic Park, like they're nearly just perfect. I'm actually, even though I'm not, I would consider you guys Jaws heads. Like you have like you guys both have like probably have a Paws t-shirt with a little kitten on it or something. I don't have any merch or books or anything, but I still am gonna give it an A+ because this movie just is great. I'm glad that we did it for the podcast because it's just a great classic movie. And if we're doing retro movies, 30 years on of friendship, then yeah, this is a great movie to cover, and I really enjoyed it. That's A+.
I'll also give it an A+. There's something I want to talk about that we didn't mention really about the shark not working is that Bob Matty, the guy that built the shark, also built the giant squid in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which I only watched for the first time maybe 2 months ago. It's kind of an enjoyable film.
And that's why they got him. They got him specifically
because of that.
Right?
But the way that they built it was they built it and tested it in, fresh water. And it wasn't until they got it into the salt water with, everything. And that's what wreaked havoc on the whole thing. And that's why it didn't work very well. So we didn't touch upon that. And I felt like I should. Because I just, the natural performances of this movie, everyone feels like a real person. Having been a kid in North Dakota down by the ocean and stuff, we had boats, we had a house on the water and all that stuff. So I always related to the movie in that sense because it was the surroundings were very familiar to me. But it's just a beautifully shot film. Everything's just great about it. Even the mistakes are great. Even when the shark looks dopey, it's still kind of great. So, A plus. I don't have much else to add what you guys have already said. So there you go. That's it. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, that's what else, what's more do you need to say about this movie? I mean, it's so well done, and especially like I said, when you consider how hard a time they had, making this movie, and they were literally writing it, shooting it, and editing it like all at the same time. Like, and this wasn't like, oh, you get out your MacBook and you edit after you shoot. I mean, this was like editing bay film.
Mention that Verna Fields, the editor, won an Academy Award for this movie. So there you go.
There you go. Well earned.
Ben Gardner's head popping out of the bottom of the boat in her pool. Dump some milk in the pool to make it a little cloudy. Made up the side of a boat and stuff a fake head through a hole.
And Bob's your uncle. The interesting thing, and I only read this, I guess I must have read this in that book, but I didn't remember, but they hired this guy, Dick Richards, before Spielberg, and he kept calling it a whale. And they were like, you can't have this guy doing this movie.
Then I heard something else, that there was a different take on that like it was actually supposed to be a whale, which was going to take your attention away from the actual shark that was going to be like swimming up next to it and eating Chrissy or something like that. That's the other story I heard. And I only heard that recently, so I don't know if that's true or not. But
interesting. Well,
I want to say that, like, just one other thing is that, like, I probably I wouldn't have given this like an A plus, maybe even like 10 years ago. But the times that I've seen it within the last couple years, I really have been like, yeah, I can really dig this movie. There's nothing really wrong with it. You know what I mean? Like it's just is good movie. Like coming to 2024 Clay is like, yeah, you know what? No matter, I'm not trying to kiss Dearson's ass, but by giving it an A plus. But yeah, I see why it's your favorite movie. It was never my favorite movie, but it's really, really great. It's a great fucking movie.
Yeah, I mean, well, thank you for kissing my ass. But I mean, it's just one of those cultural things. I mean, it's part of our, lives, like, or for me it is anyway, because it's been around longer than I have, but only a little bit longer than I have. And I mean, yeah, the sequels, we kind of, whatever, the sequels are all bad, but that's kind of the way it was back then. And it's just it's well made. It's part of our culture. And I'll never not watch it if it's on or if it's showing or whatever. So I recommend, as I said in the beginning, if you're going to see it, try to find it playing at a theater, because it's really fun, especially if people crush their cans during the thing.
It's like going to a Rocky Horror Picture.
I mean, a minor, like sort of a small scale Rocky Horror, yeah, or like The Room, like, or something, like, where people throw spoons and whatever. But it's a fun movie to experience with people, if for no other reason than the Ben Gardner scene. So, but also just watch it. It's great.
Yeah, if you have a friend that hasn't seen it, sit down and watch it.
Yeah,
cool.
That's right. And speaking of that, also watch our YouTube videos of all of our past podcasts. And then most recently, we interviewed the Cybertronic Spree. So watch that. Watch all of our podcasts on YouTube, and also go to LeaguePodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts, because we're all over that shit.
I was looking at my Facebook memories for today, and there was the episode that I couldn't make it for some reason, but you guys talked about Cybertronic Spree in 2019, and I think it was going to promote a show that was going to happen. That ended up happening, but it was like, oh, the show
was a couple of years later.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, when we came back to doing live music again. But I remember even just enjoying you guys talking about it. And then Durson and I got a chance to talk to Hot Rod and RC, and the show will have happened by the time this episode comes out, but you
Right.
can still, they were very funny.
Yeah,
Were in
they were great.
character, and we were in character. As I played Clay Inferno, Durson played Dursa, and it was just a good conversation. It's on YouTube. We checked it out. We had fun.
Yeah, we're the characters. We're in character, as Javier Rod would say. But it's fun. We've got 500 plus episodes, so go listen to them, or not all of them, the recent ones, and like and subscribe and all that stuff. Yeah, listen to the good ones, and we
License
will.
to Kill. Listen to that episode.
Yeah, that was a fun one. That was a good one. It goes on forever. There were a lot of technical difficulties, but I think
It's a
it's
good
like
one.
Jaws. It worked out pretty well.
Yeah, it's kind of like we're at the end. We're like, yeah, finally made it off the
All right. Thank you for listening, and
Farewell and adieu.
farewell and adieu.
Say goodbye.
Let's drink to our legs.
I'll drink to your leg.
Show me the way to go home. I'm tired and I want to go to bed. I had a little drink about an hour ago and I got it right to my head. Wherever I may roam, on land or sea or foam, you can always hear me